In the small room, the scent of roses and dust hung in the air. Sunbeams danced on the walls, painted pink, her mother's favourite colour. Thea sat with her legs tucked under her, flipping through an old photo album. In every photograph her mother smiled brightly and openly. Sometimes the girl felt that if she just reached out through the glossy surface, she could touch her warm skin and her favourite perfume smell. "Thea!" A sharp voice shattered the silence of the house. "Where are you? I told you to mop the kitchen floor." The girl started, quickly hiding the album under her pillow. Blakely entered the room without knocking, tall and imposing, with her flawless hairstyle and cold, light grey eyes. "I've been calling you, and you're just lounging around here," she said, her gaze sweeping disdainfully over the room. "Looking at your photos again? How many times do I have to tell you to do something useful instead?" Thea silently rose from the bed. Arguing was pointless and even dangerous. "I'm coming, Blakely." "And make your bed properly," Blakely snapped as she left the room. "I won't have you growing up a slob." Such was the life of 10-year-old Thea after her mother's death. A year and a half ago, her father had brought a new wife into their home. At first, Thea hoped that Blakely would be a friend, if not a mother. In her father's presence, Blakely was pleasant, calling Thea affectionate names. But as soon as he left for work or went on a business trip, Blakely's mask slipped, revealing a very different woman. "Dad, she left me without dinner again," Thea whispered one evening when her father returned from work. They sat in her room, and Philip, as usual, read her a book before bed. "Thea, don't start this again," her father sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Blakely said you refused to eat the stew." "She's lying," Thea exclaimed, but fell silent when she saw her father's frown. "I only asked to eat a little later because I was doing my homework, and she said I was lazy and didn't deserve food." Philip stroked his daughter's hair. "Sweetheart, you just need to get used to her. Blakely is a good woman. She cares for us. Maybe you're exaggerating a bit. She only wants what's best for you." At this moment, Blakely appeared in the doorway, smiling as she watched them. "What are you two whispering about?" she asked sweetly, though her gaze made Thea shrink back. "Oh, Thea is just imagining things again," Philip said with a smile. "She says you left her without dinner." Blakely dramatically threw up her hands and sat on the edge of the bed. "Philip, how can you say such a thing? I spent the whole evening trying to get her to eat." She took Thea's hand, and the girl barely resisted the urge to pull away. "Thea, darling, how could I do such a thing? You just didn't want what I had cooked. You said you weren't hungry, remember?" Thea remained silent, her eyes downcast. Arguing was futile. Her father would believe Blakely anyway. He always did. "See, Philip," Blakely sighed. "I try so hard, but maybe she just misses her mother and is acting out to get attention." "Blakely, don't be upset," Philip said, hugging his wife. "Thea is still a child. She'll grow up and understand." When they left the room, Thea buried her face in her pillow. "Mum," she whispered silently. "Mummy, I miss you so much." The next 2 days passed relatively calmly, if one could call it calm, when walking around the house felt like navigating an enemy rear. But on Tuesday, her father announced he was going on another business trip, this time for 3 whole days. "I'll call every evening," he said, packing his suitcase. "Thea, listen to Blakely, okay?" The girl nodded silently, feeling a lump of fear in her throat. 3 days alone with her stepmother felt like a hopeless eternity. Blakely stood beside her, one hand resting on Thea's shoulder, her fingers digging painfully into the girl's skin, a silent warning. "Don't worry, honey," she smiled gently. "We'll have a wonderful time together." As the door closed behind her father, Blakely spun Thea around to face her. "Now that we're alone, you'll do a thorough cleaning. Start with the bathroom. It's a mess." "But Blakely," Thea protested timidly, "I am having a math test tomorrow. I need to study." A sharp slap cut off her words. Thea staggered, clutching her stinging cheek. "Don't you dare talk back to me," Blakely hissed. "Your grades are irrelevant, and if you keep this up, you'll go without lunch, understood?" That evening was one of the worst in Thea's life. She scrubbed the bathroom, washed the floors throughout the house, and cleaned the stove until her fingers were red. By the time she finished, it was 9 o'clock. "May I have dinner?" Thea asked softly, standing in the kitchen doorway. Blakely, settled with popcorn in front of the TV, didn't even turn her head and said, "Dinner time is over, and besides, you worked too slowly today. Go to bed." Hungry and exhausted, Thea was on her way to her room when the home phone rang. It was her father. "How are my girls doing?" His voice was filled with genuine concern. "Everything's great, dear." Blakely instantly transformed. Her voice became soft and tender. "Thea and I had dinner, and now she's doing her homework. Would you like to talk to her?" She handed the phone to the girl, her eyes holding a silent warning. "Hi, Daddy." Thea tried to sound cheerful. "How are you, sweetheart? Is everything okay?" At that moment, something inside Thea broke. Perhaps it was the exhaustion, the hunger, or the months of accumulated despair. "No, Daddy, it's not okay," she said quietly but firmly. "I cleaned all day, she didn't feed me, and she hit me when I mentioned my homework." There was a silence on the other end. Thea could feel Blakely tense beside her. "Thea?" Her father's voice wavered. "Are you sure? Maybe you're just tired and exaggerating." "No, Daddy." Her voice trembled with tears. "Please believe me, I'm not lying." "Give the phone to Blakely," he said after a pause. Blakely snatched the phone from the girl's hands. "Philip, don't listen to her. She's just manipulating you. No one hit her. Yes, she helped me clean today, but that's normal. And of course she had dinner. Spaghetti with cheese, her favourite." Thea didn't stay to further listen. She went to her room, softly closing the door. Her father wouldn't believe her again. He never did. But something changed after that call. The next day, when Blakely started ordering her around and threatening her again, Thea detected a new note in her voice: uncertainty. And that evening, her father called again. "I'll be back early tomorrow," he said. "Prepare something nice for dinner, okay?" This gave Thea the strength to endure another day. And on Thursday, hearing the sound of the key in the lock, she rushed to the hallway. Her father hugged her tightly. "How have you been without me?" he asked, looking intently at his daughter's face. "Everything was wonderful," Blakely smiled, coming out of the kitchen. "I made your favourite meal." The evening passed surprisingly peacefully. Blakely was attentive and kind to both of them. After dinner, as Thea was getting ready for bed, her father came into her room. "I want to talk to you," he said seriously, "about what you told me on the phone." Thea tensed. "I didn't exaggerate, Daddy. It's all true." Philip looked at his daughter for a long time, then sighed heavily. "You know, I thought about this all the way home, and I decided to check something before my next trip." "Check what?" "You'll see." He kissed her forehead. "Now go to sleep, little one. Everything will be okay, I promise." A week later, Philip was preparing to leave again, this time for just 2 days. "I'll be back Friday evening," he said at breakfast. "Hopefully there won't be any delays." Before leaving, he went into his study and spent a long time with his laptop. Thea didn't know what he was doing, but he looked focused and determined. "Don't miss me too much," he said, hugging Blakely and then Thea goodbye. As soon as the door closed behind him, Blakely's mask of kindness vanished. "All right, brat. Today and tomorrow we're going to have some real work therapy. You're going to sort through my clothes, wash and iron them, and if you ruin anything, you'll go without food for a week." Those 2 days turned into a nightmare. Blakely nitpicked every little thing, making Thea redo tasks multiple times. On the evening of the first day, she left Thea without dinner for allegedly poorly ironing jeans. The next day, she woke her at 5 in the morning to wash all the dishes, including vases and sets that were rarely used. When Philip returned home on Friday evening, Thea could barely stand from exhaustion. "How have you been?" he asked, looking at his wife strangely. "Wonderful!" Blakely exclaimed. "Thea, as always, was a good girl." "Glad to hear it," Philip said with a new, cold tone in his voice. "Thea, go wash up and get ready for bed. Blakely and I need to talk." In the quiet of her room, Thea laid in bed, when loud voices echoed from the living room. Her father spoke first, his tone calm yet firm, followed by Blakely's indignant shout. "How dare you! I've been doing everything to create a family for us, and you believe the lies of a spoiled child?" Thea tiptoed to her door and cracked it open. Her father, Philip, sat with his laptop in the living room, while a pale Blakely stood nearby. Philip calmly turned the laptop screen towards Blakely and asked, "And what about this? Is this a lie too?" Thea couldn't see the screen, but she heard her own sobs and Blakely's harsh voice. "Shut up, you brat! If you keep crying, you'll go without breakfast for a week." "What?" Blakely gasped, stepping back. "You were spying on me." "I installed a camera," Philip replied, closing the laptop, "not to catch you, but to prove to myself that Thea was exaggerating and jealous of you because you were the woman I fell in love with." He paused, looking at Blakely with darkened eyes. "But you turned out to be a monster. You tormented my daughter, a child who lost her mother." "Philip, listen." Blakely tried to take his hand, but he pulled away. "I was only trying to discipline her. She's growing up disobedient and unmanageable." "Enough!" Philip stood up, towering over her. "Pack your things. You have 1 hour." "You wouldn't dare!" Blakely exclaimed. "I'm your wife." "Not any more," Philip said firmly. "If you're not out of here within the hour, I swear you'll regret it." Thea held her breath. Could it be true? Had her father finally believed her? An hour later, the apartment was quiet. Blakely had left, slamming the door and shouting curses. Philip sat on the couch, his face in his hands. When Thea cautiously emerged from her room, he looked up. "Papa?" she said softly. "Is she really gone?" Philip nodded and opened his arms. Thea rushed to him, and he held her tightly. "Forgive me," he whispered, his tears falling onto her hair. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you, that I made you go through this." "Did you really set up a camera?" Thea asked when they had both calmed down. "Yes," her father replied, stroking her hair. "After your call, I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I decided to check. I installed a hidden camera in the living room while you and Blakely were having breakfast." "And you saw everything?" "Enough," Philip replied grimly. "She will never bother you again, I promise." That night, Thea slept peacefully for the first time in ages, free from fear and anxiety. The next morning, she and her father went to the park, enjoying ice cream and conversation, a real day off, like they hadn't had since her mother passed away. "You know," Philip said as they sat on a bench watching the ducks in the pond, "your mother would be proud of you. You're so brave." "But I was scared," Thea admitted. "I was scared all the time." "Being brave doesn't mean not being afraid," her father said, putting an arm around her shoulders. "It means being afraid and doing what's right anyway. You told the truth, even when no one believed you. That's true bravery." Thea smiled at him. "You were brave too, Papa. You admitted your mistake." "I should never have doubted you," Philip sighed. "I promise I never will again." And Thea knew her father would keep his word. And Thea knew her father would keep his word. Now they would be a real family again, small but strong, and no one, not even Blakely, would ever come between them again.